Kia ora, welcome back to the Ins and Outs podcast. I'm Koen.
I'm Jemilah, and we're here to have casual and informative conversations about how to navigate the music industry in Aotearoa.
In this latest episode, we talked to Jaz Paterson about the ins and outs of releasing music.
Jaz is an electronic pop musician and generally organised human being who's currently working on a release plan for her next project.
In the episode, we talk about everything that you need in the run-up to a release, even though we brush over a lot of things that we will cover more in depth in later episodes.
Tangents aside, this episode should help you get your ducks in a row to give your song the best push possible when it comes out into the world.
Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Ins and Outs podcast. Today we have Jaz Paterson. Jaz, tell us a bit about who you are, how you got here, and what it is you do.
Sure thing. Well, thank you for having me. I am Jaz. I'm an electronic pop musician based in Auckland at the moment. Yeah, that's a little bit about me. That's me, yeah. In a sentence.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's perfect. We were really keen to talk to an artist with a couple songs out, just because today we're keen to dive into releasing music, right? Like there's so much that goes into it. And I guess at this point, we're assuming people have songs recorded or they're planning to record it and maybe they're already planning the releasing as well. And I guess releasing a song is as easy as sending it to a distributor and then it gets done. But there's so much more. Like in theory, that's all you
need
could
to do.
Yeah. And it would get done. But
It's like the most basic model.
Yeah. But there's so much more to releasing that goes in before the release, of course. So all that build up that no one knows about, that no one sees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's really interesting to talk about.
And I think this is from the perspective of a self-managed, independent artist that wants to get the most out of a release that they can do, but with themselves or their band or maybe a small team, but without the help of, say, like a label or external support. Because
it's I guess a lot of decision making in the run up to a release of a song.
Yeah,
and hopefully we can break down that decision making in like a sort of to-do list or a timeline, or something that seems a bit more approachable or tackleable.
Cool.
I don't know. I
cool
definitely
word.
made up
also.
that word.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, I'm going to take it and use it. Yeah.
Yes, that wasn't a question at all. But in short,
there's one brewing. I can feel it.
Yeah. Let's maybe formulate this into a question.
Okay.
So I guess first you're thinking, when do you want to release a song, right? Like you want to have a date in mind that you can work towards, or maybe even better, work backwards from and come to a conclusion. Okay, actually, 4 weeks ahead of the release, I need to do this and whatever. So let's say, first of all, have you found that any particular time of the year or like any particular day or date is great to release music on?
Let me think. Because, I feel like what's interesting for me is with my first release, I released an EP with a few singles ahead of that, and I had a bit of support around me at the time. Like I had a mentor who was like, okay, on this date we're doing this, on this date we're doing that, but now I'm actually coming into like a new release period, and so I have to be super proactive about this kind of stuff as well now. So usually would go for a Friday. And then I've been told that like in terms of time of the year, apparently it's better to release music in the first half of the year if you're hoping to get booked for like
summer festivals
and gigs and stuff. It just gives like promoters a bit to work with your new music, but that's not always possible. So
I guess that you're talking about the New Zealand summers around December, January, February,
exactly.
So that festival bookers are looking at like who's doing things, who's busy,
who's got new music, exactly. But then there's another part of me that's like the best time to release music is when you've written some really good music and it's the right time for you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like when you're
There's
like,
a balance.
this is like the right song, the right time. This is who I am as an artist. So there's a bit of both. Like there is like industry timelines, I feel, and then there's also just doing it when it's the right personal timeline.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's really easy to get wrapped up to push for an industry timeline.
Yes.
But it's actually, at least in my experience, better to give yourself more time in a personal timeline.
For sure.
Like pick a personal
100%,
timeline that gives you more time to focus on it than to pick a potentially good industry timeline in which you're really busy and don't have time to actually push it as much as you want
make like a really like cohesive, solid release plan as well. I feel like time is the biggest thing.
Definitely.
Totally.
Time for sure. Because like you mentioned before, of course you can record your song, you can send it off to your distributor and it can be out, next Thursday, next Friday. You can just like throw it out into the world, and if that's how you want to do things, then that's super chill. But it may be that if you don't, well, in my experience, it's like if you don't put time and resources and energy and effort into making a solid release plan, it might just be your mum and your best friend and your nana that listen to your music. And I think like the better, the more solid of a release plan you can create, I think it gives you, it doesn't guarantee anything, but it gives you the best chance of your song being pushed further than your like inner circle of support.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the more time that you have, because a lot of the tasks that we'll probably talk about as we continue this conversation are actually just things that take more time than they do effort. And, like you put in a bit of effort and then you just need time. Like if you're emailing a certain number of people, you just need time.
Sure.
And if you have more time, you can reach out to more people and push to more things. So it really does come down to like time is the biggest commodity. Obviously, effort, you need to put effort in. But if you don't have time, you won't be able to put in effort.
Exactly.
That's really important.
And then giving yourself like short deadlines to work with is only going to create stress and pressure, and you may like get a better result with a couple more weeks up your sleeve.
Yeah. So the more that you can sort of plan it out, and of course the more songs you release, the more you start realizing like, oh, okay, I actually needed a bit longer for this, and I wish I had more time there or something like that. Or maybe you're listening to a really cool podcast that explains like how to do it.
That's also possible. That's so true.
So in general, you've gone, okay, I got my song, I want to pick a date. Thinking of Friday is probably a good idea because New Music Friday, that's generally when lots of new music comes out.
Most people,
When you're sitting and doing that, how far out from that moment should that date be, ideally, do we think?
True.
Yeah, in terms of like working backwards. Well, I guess in my experience, I've only ever worked with DRM, which are a New Zealand-based distribution company, and so I'm just trying to remember like their like deadline preferences, but they're like as far in advance as possible. But I think it's sort of minimum 4 weeks. 6 is great. I think that's sort of what the sort of the deadlines that I've worked with. So that's having your assets all like locked in. So your song, and then obviously the design all locked in, the cover art, and then what they've got me to do also in the past is like send my release plan through as well, so that they're up to date with everything that's happening. But I for my next releases, I'm going to be aiming for 6 weeks out from my preferred release date.
But then there's also, you need a number of weeks before that 6-week date to actually prepare all of that material. So how long before release date are you starting the thinking process?
Because I guess you're talking about assets, and it's really nice because when you've released music, your assets are pretty much there, right? You have a photo shoot that you can maybe even utilize across a few releases.
Exactly.
You've got a bio that you can tweak a little bit, and especially you've already got two-way communication with maybe a few radio stations or media. But let's say you're completely starting from scratch, right? So you're building up all these assets. You haven't got a bio, you haven't got a, and we'll dive deeper into why you need a bio and what goes into a bio or a press kit or a press release. But just taking into consideration, I guess what is what Jem's saying.
Yeah, okay.
How long, how much time will we need with that included,
to
right?
get the assets
Yeah,
together,
yeah,
to get those pieces together.
as well.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about in a lot of episodes how that's like something that is good to just have in general.
Yes,
but
whether you're releasing music
or not.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you if this is your debut release, you might have like bits and pieces of the stuff, but it might not be high quality enough or high quality photos or whatever. So if you're thinking you need to get all this stuff sorted.
Okay, right. So for, I guess, like someone releasing their very first piece of music, getting all of that together, I don't know, like let's say maybe even like a month of, let's say, from getting a photo shoot / starting to work with a graphic designer to get those like visual assets together. For the visual assets, like something I would really recommend, especially when you're starting to talk to a designer, is to have a Pinterest board. I do so many Pinterest boards, but I think like maybe one of the first steps actually is to think like visually, like if I've done the music, I'm happy with where my art is sitting, like, sonically and what I want to say as an artist, but like visually, like what's important to me. Do I want my face to be in the cover art? Do I want it to be more abstract? Do I want to get like an illustrator or a graphic designer to do those sort of pieces? Is probably an important starting
it's like an artist image, right? What is my image as an artist?
Like kind of creating that vision of what you want for your art, and then going into the practical part of creating, like co-creating that with a graphic designer. And then and then sort of going from there. But I don't know, like maybe like a month to get all of those pieces together.
Like a month. That's before the 6 weeks.
That's before the 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Sweet. So you're looking at 2.5 months there for for the first song, and
for sure.
Like we were saying, as you keep releasing, that's going to become easier and easier. Because you don't need to build things up from scratch.
Yeah,
so
you're
much.
starting to gather some of those bits and pieces.
Even if you do a new photo shoot, you already have your favorite photographer that you work with, and graphic designer, etc.
Yeah, because you're building those relationships,
exactly,
and you're building those relationships and building that team, and that's something that I have found really cool over the last couple of years of releasing music, is that I feel like I'm always connecting with new people and working with new people, but in the same breath, like I have like a really consistent solid team, which I think visually has been actually really important in terms of the people that I work with for photo shoots, and then my creative director / stylist has been like that same person the whole way through, which helps with consistency.
Nice.
But just for a first release, I feel like I guess you've got to figure out, like, do I need a photo shoot? Like, am I the face of the music? Like, what does that look like? Or does it need to be an illustration? Do I want something more abstract? But just in terms of those visuals. But having like clear and like consistent visuals. Just finding great people to work with. There's so many good people.
And I think that comes down
with,
to like the same things, like time. Like you're going to have to reach out to those people, wait to hear back from them. You don't want to put anybody under any stress. So
exactly.
2.5 months to even 3 months to even more. Because I think
honestly,
there's really a point of like, you can plan something as early as you like, but as time gets shorter, then it starts to actually impact something. But there's no harm in starting something way earlier. Yeah, even when you're still doing the recording process. You're recording it, it's getting mixed, you're saying, cool, this is definitely going to be released. Yeah. I'm going to start reaching out to designers and stuff now and just getting in touch, even if I don't need that until a certain point. Like, it's a good idea to just get the communication lines sort of going. Yeah,
start like building those relationships. Like, for example, I started planning a photo shoot in February that I did in May for photos for music of mine that will be released in like the last end of this year. Yeah. The last few months of this year.
Yeah. It's very daunting to say that.
So,
yeah. And I definitely be in the position of being like, cool, I've got a song that I want to release. Yeah, you get to release it soon. Nope. Oh. And then hearing that from someone and being like, oh my gosh, I don't want to wait that long.
I know.
But
I know.
Time passes quickly, and it's so worth it when you've released music and you feel like you've been able to put effort, like you've been able to put the time and effort into it that it deserves. And you start hearing things back and you're like, oh, I would not have got that if I didn't have time to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, you can't unrelease a song.
Yes.
Like, once it's out forever in the form that you chose to sort of... And I mean, like, there obviously, of course, is that balance of perfectionism versus, like, let's just get it done, you know? So there's definitely that balance.
Yeah, you have
of,
to
like,
find
not being
that
too
line
picky.
for yourself, like, that's impossible to have someone tell you, like, oh, this is just what you need to do, and you got to be happy with that, because some people don't even have the capacity to do half of the stuff that other people are, you know,
That's true,
doing. So, yeah, it is like, it's so, especially for your first one, it's really tricky because A, you probably don't know all the stuff that needs to be done, and then B, as you're finding it out, you're like, well, now I want to do a really good job at it.
Yes.
But then you're overwhelmed, and so it's tricky to find that balance. Yeah. It's
definitely,
learning as you go, sort of thing.
I think it is important to note that, like, even though, you know, this whole podcast, especially this episode, there's going to be a lot of things you can do, but there's actually, I guess maybe at the end we can break down like, these are the kind of must-haves. Like, you kind of need a bio, and you need the cover art, and you need X, Y,
like
Z.
a good press
But then there's
shot.
like a few things that you can do. You know, you could email 50 radio stations. You could also just email 10. You know, like, it's up to you how you decide, like, your capacity and, like, how much you put into it. And it's okay to, like, not be able to do thousands and thousands of things.
Yes.
Yeah,
I guess not being paralyzed by, like, a sea of, like, all of these endless options and choices when, like, there's 5 key things to focus on, and then anything above and beyond that, you're doing great, you know?
Yeah, you're doing great.
You're doing so great. Yeah.
I just know that it
The
can be so
essentials.
overwhelming when you go to, like, a panel or
It is.
anything where people talk.
Yeah.
And you just go home and you're like, I
my
can
God.
never do all of that. Like, you're like, I just do not have the time, skills, capacity. Like, and then you feel deflated. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't release music. This seems so hard. There's so many things I have to do.
Yeah.
You know?
But that's not the reality.
No, it's not the reality.
But that's how it feels.
Yes,
Sometimes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel, you sometimes feel like crippled by the amount of tasks that would be, because you're like, I could do the bare minimum, but I want to do everything.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a balance. But yeah, I think that's actually a nice way of looking at it. Just being like, okay, I 100% need good press shots. I need well-designed visual assets. I need my songs mixed and mastered and locked in, and I need, you know, this amount of things, and then above and beyond that is going to help things really sparkle.
Yeah. So
hopefully.
I guess, I mean, we could just break it down now. I feel like we're already getting into it. We've said that you need a good, like, you need cover art, and you need your song mixed and mastered.
So
Absolute must-haves.
So I guess logistically, the song is being mixed. I like that idea. It's now you're kind of confirming, like, okay, I'm putting the money in for this to be released. And hey, you can still decide not to. That's fine. Anywhere along the process, you can still decide not to.
Of course, but the intention
if you're not
is there.
happy with
you're
it.
getting it mixed.
Yes. So you're getting it mixed. It's going to get mastered.
Yeah.
Confirmation. You can now start looking at getting someone on board or doing it yourself. And getting a cover
people
up.
have the
right?
skills.
Totally.
Of graphic design.
Totally.
True.
You just
Not
put a
Not
camera
me.
up and you go and stand, I don't know, with a mirror in the ocean or something, and boom, there's your cover art. If you're a folk artist, that's great.
Yeah. Well, you also have all of these decisions along the way of how DIY you want things to be.
Totally.
And, like, obviously there's a whole other conversation around, like, budget, which is it's just up to you, right? Like, if you want, you can. Like you say, you've got to figure out what you want for your art.
What's important.
And, like, what's important. And then you can decide, oh, cool, I actually have a mate who does photography. I'm just going to ask him to take some photos of me. Or do I need to reach out to a professional in a different capacity that I don't already know?
Definitely. Yeah, and I feel like if you've got budget as well, it's going to be limited if you're like a self-managed artist. But I think it's like, okay, what are the really important pieces? You know, getting it mastered super well, and then getting really strong design or cover art done. Like, I feel like those are the two super key pieces of, like, if you've got budget to spend, like, that's where I'd be putting it.
Because
completely.
All of the things that you need for it to be distributed, it's like your cover art, the master, and there's probably good to have, like, I would say that even though you need a bio and you need a couple of good quality photos. It can literally be 2. Yeah, like it doesn't have to be a lot.
Yeah,
no,
just get a few good quality photos, at least 900 pixels. I know that sounds really obvious, but like has to be of high quality if you're going to be reaching out to media, and it needs to be able to be online, in which you are like clearly identifiable. Needs to be you with your face. You know, like that's what media want, is a picture of you essentially. It's your cover art can be super artsy. It doesn't have to be you. But press photos should be photos of you,
of the
or
artist,
the band, or whoever's involved in the project. And you can just have that in a nice little drive folder. Bio, press photos.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. So then, okay, so you've got a few assets. You've got you've gone an extra step. You've written a short bio. You've written a long bio. Maybe you've already got those because you're reaching out to festivals and you're like, hey, here's my bio. Or someone else has asked you for a bio because you did an event with them or something like that. So you've got a bio, you've got some press photos, multiple press photos. You've got some press photos, you've got a cover art, and you've got your song. Yeah. Nice. 4 things.
Stunning.
They're great, you know. Now, let's say we reach out to who we want to reach out to. I want to get my song on the radio. I think that's probably a priority because I know that they take longer than, for instance, media to post a song or share a song. Whereas for radio, it needs to be programmed and everything and blah, blah, blah. You know. So let's say we're going to go and send them an email. I mean, we've got a whole other episode on this coming up, but
so we don't need to go too in depth. But
we don't need to go too in depth. We've got a long episode of this coming up. But say we're going to send this. Let's make this as easy as possible for the person on the other side of this email to read. And having everything in one tidy Google Drive folder that's accessible. Please, God, make sure that the link is clickable and that you don't need access.
It's a reoccurring thing.
It's a reoccurring thing. It needs to be said. But yes, that's a good way to go about it. But what else do we need? Let's say.
Speaking of links, when you get your master back, upload it to SoundCloud. Honestly, just SoundCloud. Like you can use Google Drive, but then you accidentally don't give someone access and it's just a pain in the ass. Yeah, just upload it to somewhere where it's a one click on the link and the song takes you straight to the song. Yeah. And you will use that for everything. Not even just like media and reaching out to radio. Like you might bump into someone who is a festival, but you know what I mean? Like you just want to, even if you're applying for a festival, you say, hey, here's my unreleased track.
And that's right. So you make that a private link.
Private link. Private. That's good to know.
Not downloadable.
Not downloadable. So people can only listen to it through that link. Yeah. But easy stream, and that you will attach that to your media emails, to your radio emails. Sweet.
So we've got, hello, Jemilah. I would like to work with you on your radio station, whatever, the ins and outs FM. And here is the song that I'm releasing in whatever 6.5 weeks. 6.5 weeks? 6 weeks? 6.5 weeks?
That's 1.5
week. Anyway, let's say it's 6.5 weeks. Okay. Here's the song that I'm releasing in 6.5 weeks. It's called My Bedroom, and you have a link to My Bedroom by Koen, the solo artist now. This is happening. And then, so, hi, I'd like to work with you on radio station. Yeah. Here's a link to my song. Yeah. All my assets can be found in this link. Please let me know if you need anything else from me, and send. Also, maybe not.
Yeah. Also,
what else do we need?
If it is radio, also here is a downloadable MP3 and WAV file.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That's only for radio. Media. Yeah. Literally don't send media just a WAV file.
No. Yeah. I feel just one thing comes to mind. A radio edit. If you've got a sweary song, if you've got a little F word or something, like a clean radio edit. Yeah. It's just something that I had to scramble for last minute with one of my songs. Yes. So just if you're prepared, if you've got a swear word.
What have you been saying? Oh my gosh.
That F word.
Oh gosh.
It's all these little things that you forget about and that can be stressful.
But then I was like, that's not going to get played with that word, is it?
Absolutely.
So I scrambled to do that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I feel in the email, whether it's like someone you already have a connection with or someone who you're just sort of emailing like cold out of the blue, I feel like it's nice to have like a personal touch. Maybe it's like, I feel like my song could potentially be a good fit for XYZ show that this person hosts. I was listening the other day and I feel like my song could potentially be a good fit. Or
I was kind of fishing for that. This is good.
For it to just be human. Because, honestly, I feel like for me, like the industry and radio and these people were kind of like very scary people, but the more I the more I get to know them and the more I email back and forth, and then the more I do in person like radio interviews or whatever, I'm like, they're literally just people, and it would just be nice to have like that human element.
They're just people that are really busy and get lots of emails, and you just got to cut through that. And like, for sure, everyone is just helping everyone out here, so be kind.
And you're asking them, the thing is, you're asking them for some kind of, for 2 minutes of their day to listen to your song to decide if it's a good fit for their station. So it's nice to be nice.
And if you've already done that research, that helps them.
It comes down to another like recurring thing is the research.
Yeah.
It's especially when you're doing your first release, you can't just expect to know it straight away, right? You have to kind of do your homework. So make a spreadsheet with radio stations I would like to work with, and go and look them up. I'd like to get my song on 95 BFM.
Yeah.
Do I email them? No. They have a specific guide on their website that says, don't email us.
Please, for the love of God.
And, Radio 1 down in Dunedin is different. And there's all these stations have guides or email addresses that you can get in touch with or not get in touch with BFM because they don't want to. And you have to respect that because they're busy people. And exactly what you're saying, they're human. So just if you are sending an email like, hey, I really, really like your jazz program. My jazz song could fit on this really well, I think, because I really like it.
Yeah.
I think,
might too.
Yeah,
Who knows?
that to me is what takes the absolute most time is the research. And everybody has to do that for themselves because everybody is different.
Yeah.
It's about that specific song you're releasing, not even you as an artist. Like if that specific, you might be a rock artist, but that song is a little bit more funk.
And it could fit a certain
station. And that you need to set out like a lot of time for that because doing that research will, if you send BFM an email, they might not play a song because that's not how you're supposed to send it to them. No, but you wouldn't know that if you didn't do the research. So find all these stations and then go through that list, look at every website, see if you can find somewhere that they have a submit link or an email. See if you can find the name of the person that's associated with that station. Go every radio station specifically. This is also similar to media in terms of the same process. Like figure out how they want to be emailed, who you're contacting, make it personal.
Yeah. Just even putting their name in, being like
totally. And they're easy to find.
Look on their website, whether it be a website, a magazine, a radio station, a playlist. Listen to it. But I guess the reason I say this is because it's really easy to see someone do a review of something out there and just go, cool, boom, email, done. You know what I mean? But it's really important to actually, for everyone's sake, like go and look at it and realize what is it they actually do? Does this fit what I do? Yeah. Because then you actually end up with a shorter list of people that you need to reach out to and it takes less time. Yeah. Because you...
Yeah, because it's like it's a curated, thoughtful list. And I'm sure that if I was, on the receiving end, I would appreciate like a curated, thoughtful email as well.
For sure.
And I guess with me being several releases in, I feel like I touched on it earlier, but just like the importance of relationship and like realizing, New Zealand is so small, like just realizing how like these people are not big, scary media people. Some of them are, but they're mostly like super great people. You'll bump into them at bars, you'll bump into them at shows, and it's so nice to like actually build those relationships. And like I guess in Christchurch there's several radio stations that have been really, really supportive of my music, and they've been like, come on the show, come do a live performance, come talk about an upcoming release, come talk about your upcoming show, which I've appreciated so much. Like it's a really reciprocal relationship. And I think as well, just even like a little thing that I try to do is if I go on a show, to just put it on social media and be like, oh, thank you so much, XYZ station, for having me, and instead of just being like, you go and you do the show, but to actually be like, hey, thank you for having me in, and put it online.
So that crosses over into the social media world, because not only does it actually thank the station or the media platform for sharing your music or helping you out essentially, because they are helping you out, but also anyone who's on social media and sees that, it goes like, oh well, that's cool, look at them go, like, hey, that's my favorite artist I'm supporting or whatever. At the start it's just your friends, so it's like,
exactly,
that's my friend, I'm so stoked for them. Maybe now I'll hype a bit more around them. And it does happen. Like, you really see like an instant sort of wave of excitement going from your friends.
That's cool, eh?
And then spreads out. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. That's really cool. Yeah.
So we're at the point, we've got the assets. We've written a nice little email, and we're at the point of potentially reaching out to radio and media before a release. So shall we talk about now, because I feel like that's pretty much covered. I would say that a media email is very similar to a radio email, and we also will touch on both of those things in other episodes and deeper into how we structure that and what's important in each of those things. Yeah. So let's move on to reaching out to a distributor. There's a few different options.
This is a very good point.
You've got all your assets. In order for your song to be released, we're at the 6-week spot.
This will, of course, happen simultaneously as you're emailing radio as well.
Everything is happening simultaneously, which is why it's really important to get all your ducks in a row early on, because everything will get hectic regardless of how planned you are. So it's very important to be planned as much as you possibly can. Yeah. We're all human.
Yeah.
But you are figuring out reaching out to a distributor. There's a few different options, but most of them need the same things.
Yeah. So you've mentioned DRM.
Yeah.
Which is digital right. Well, all of them, I guess, are DRM, digital rights management. Management. That's right. But we're specifically talking about DRM NZ.
Yeah.
New Zealand. And I guess you're leaning towards sort of mentioning TuneCore or like CD Baby. There's a few distributors that are DistroKid. Yeah.
I think I'm leaning towards because everyone will have a different decision, and even though we've worked with DRM before and they are great, so I would like to give them a shout out. Like, they're really easy to work with. But at the same time, I'd like to give a more generalized approach on regardless of which distributor you're reaching out to. Yeah. You probably just want to figure out their contact deals, give them a call, flick them an email, say, hey, keen to release my song on this date. Yeah. I've got all my ducks in a row. I've got all my assets. Here they are. Here they are. And what do you think?
It's, again,
let me
research.
Know what else you need from me.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's research again, right? Because some distributors work differently than others. So DRM will take a percentage of your song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they take a percentage.
Whereas TuneCore is like a flat fee that you pay for like yearly, I think, and CD Baby and stuff as well.
Some of them will just put your song out in the world. Yeah. And others will pitch for you and go, like, I think DRM takes percentage because they do help you pitch stuff.
They do.
And push it to playlists and stuff like that, which we can dive into as well. So whereas I can't speak too much on other ones because I haven't used them, but I know that other ones will literally just put your song on the platforms and you are responsible for pushing that song in playlists and stuff like that.
Like, I don't know because I've only ever worked with one distribution place, but for me, DRM isn't like this random idea. It's a group of people who work in a building just down the road. We've had coffee. If I send them an email, they email me back in half an hour being like, hey, you need to do this, you need to know this, you need to XYZ, or we've fixed this problem on your Spotify. And it's human.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel very well looked after by DRM.
And I'd say probably working with whatever company that's in the same time zone as you is very helpful with that as well.
Oh my God, yes.
It's actually really important.
Like, you don't think about that, but you can't call someone if you need help if they're not awake.
If they're in the States.
You have to wait.
No, yeah, exactly.
So I think, and some of those companies are overseas based, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think most of them are.
Yeah.
I think nothing is quite New Zealand specific.
Yes. And it does help having someone that is in the same time zone and will be checking their emails when you're sending them.
So backtracking again, you've done your assets.
Yeah.
You've got your sort of email template that you're going to tweak per radio station and your media. Yeah, this is 6 weeks or 8 weeks out, right? Like,
or 6.5.
Yeah, or 6.5 weeks, right? Roughly at an estimate. And at the same time, this 6 to 8 weeks out, I guess that's your benchmark. Maybe let's say 2 months, right? Especially for your first release.
Onto it.
You're onto it.
And
and you know, DRM is probably a little bit more likely to say, yeah, let's go if you're a bit more ahead. Okay, so you've got your media that's done. Oh, I mean, your media assets. You've done that. Now you're 2 months out. You've got your email template for radio and maybe media as well that you're going to tweak slightly differently. Like you don't need to send, you know, your photo shoot to radio maybe unless they specifically ask for it. But generally, maybe put it in your press kit. Why not?
Yeah.
It's just in a little folder that they can click on anyway. At this point, you're talking to the distributor like, hey, this is my song. Would you like to work together?
Yeah.
What's next? You've got 2 months. You've got 2 months to kill.
I'd say like you'd follow through that conversation with that distributor.
Yeah.
They would set up your profiles. They'd send you what's called a B-Fan link eventually that has like a pre-save and pre-order link, which will then turn into the same link will turn into a streaming link once your song is released. Like magic
on your release day.
And that will, you know, get you set up with people pre-saving your song on Spotify. Which is,
should we quickly? Yeah, this is a good.
We can dive into that. I just feel like
pre-saves and pre-orders.
That's almost like the next phase. You have that link, and then you do things with that link.
You do.
Yeah,
you do.
So you essentially maybe that's more of a social media rollout.
Yeah.
This is what you're planning at the same time as well, a social media rollout, because that's different from media, right? Media is like magazines and whatever.
Yeah.
Blogs and stuff.
Yeah, social media going, okay, my song's coming out, guys.
My song's coming out. And basically you say, my song is coming out in 500 different ways on social media. That's literally I don't know. Yeah, I feel like coming up with some kind of like a content schedule, like if you're feeling really organized, okay, what I do that
let's go really organized method.
Okay, let's go really organized. What I do that I don't always stick to, but I do my best is I will plan my social media content a month in advance. Write it all up on a calendar template and then print it out, stick it on my wardrobe, cross posts out as I go through them.
Love that.
So thank you. It's a recent addition to my life, and
we've started doing the same thing, but on a Google sheet.
It's like
turn it into a calendar.
Beautiful. It's a good time.
It's awesome
because it's like past you has organized, so future you isn't going to stress and be like, oh my gosh, what do I need to put?
Top life tip: make a calendar for everything.
Oh my gosh,
everything. You've got it out of your head. You've got it onto paper. You know that it's going to happen, and you can be flexible and change things as needed.
Yes.
But being flexible with a plan is easier than being like chaotic with no plan. I don't know.
Very much.
So creating some type of a social media sort of content situation, and I suppose you want to think about what type of posts are going to perform best on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. Maybe you'll have like little snippets. Maybe you can share like little snippets of your song. Maybe you can share a little bit of like behind the scenes stuff from what you've been working on in the studio. Maybe you want to think about like, when do I want to share my my cover art with people. You can do like if you're doing your pre-save link, maybe you want to get people pre-saving. Like maybe I would probably go for 2 weeks out and then incentives to pre-save. Like I think I've done merch giveaways in the past, like giving away like a t-shirt. So if you've got merch to give away, that can be cool.
Even tickets or...
Yeah, tickets, that's good. Yeah. Or different types
you can
of
just
incentives.
Be creative with your content, because that's kind of like a whole, content, that's a whole other thing. We've just actually had we've got an episode coming up with Masbo on social media and content. Be creative with your content, but there's obviously like you will want to schedule things like when you're going to release your cover art and when you're going to announce certain
so essentially
details.
You already have quite a bit of content, right? You've got first of all, you've got a great song, hopefully, that you can release snippets from. That is a great content, and they could be on anything. It can really be on pretty much anything.
And for all of your content not to just be listen to my single, but thinking of it as like a little bit of give and take in some ways. Like like you are asking people to listen to your single, you're asking them to pre-save, you're asking them to follow or whatever, but like what are you giving your audience? Like thinking about like as an artist, like what do I want to share? How much of my own voice do I want to share, and how much do I want to give and be vulnerable, and what sort of content do I want to make, rather than just like push. There's nothing wrong with that. Like you want to get your music out, you want to give it the best chance that you can, obviously, but I think for me, like trying to find a balance of like promoting my music actively and then also being myself on social media and being like,
it's very important.
How do I want to do this whole release thing without feeling like I'm just pushing a product
and
at people?
I think like the most important thing about having a social media plan, because everyone's actual content will be different.
Yeah.
But it's like, we're all creative people, and most of us aren't very good at being consistent on social media in a grand scheme of things. Like, let's be real. But coming up to a release, you're going to want your audience to be active at that time. Yeah. So I think what's most important about having a social media plan, whether people actually click that pre-save link or not, is becoming active on your platforms again for an extended period of time, for 6 weeks or so.
Disappear.
So like for every week or once, every once in a while, you're starting to pop up on people's pages. People are going, okay, they're doing something. I see that they exist now. So that when you do release that song, it's being released into the arms of people who are aware that it's happening, or aware that you still exist.
Out of the blue.
It's not just like out of the blue.
Like,
your last Instagram post was 3 months ago and it's a picture of your dog. And so the algorithm has, like, you've disappeared from everyone's algorithm and no one's going to see your post. You kind of have to feed the algorithm a little bit, stoke the fire in advance.
Quite important to not to have consistent content, but not only the release, right? So that picture of a dog or that video of you jumping in a pool or something, whatever, like some random stuff, is so important as well.
Yeah. And I guess that's what we're talking about. Like, you're not just like push. Like, my single's coming out. It's more just about being active.
I read a while ago, I can't remember where I read it, but that a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1, maybe it was 5-to-1. I think it was 4-to-1. Ratio is really good, where you're 4-to-1, you're giving, and then 1 you're asking. So it's like, hey, here's this fun thing I did. Here's something I think you may like. Here's another cool thing that I'm doing that you can come to. Here's another cool thing, like I chatted to something. Oh, by the way, I'm releasing the song if you didn't know yet. Here's a pre-save link,
Like the last time that I did, that I wrote up a schedule for June for my social media, I actually looked at different musicians' pages, looked at like musicians and then different influencers and then people who do more fashion or lifestyle or different types of artists and creatives. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, they've done a post that I like. I'm going to do my own version or take elements of that. Yeah. I mean, it's like
use
creating
it as inspiration.
Yeah. It's like when you go in the studio and you're like, I'm listening to these songs at the moment and I want to take elements from different ones, or if you go and do a photo shoot, you plan out your Pinterest board and you're like, I'm inspired by elements of these.
This is the overall vibe.
The overall vibe, and you take the same principle. It's not, obviously, you don't want to be like copying other people's work. You want to be inspired by other people's work and then putting your own like authentic spin on that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Doing the research is to just gain inspiration, not to. You also will really not serve yourself if you're trying to directly copy other people, because you'll just be playing a comparison game and not making content that actually serves you or your music.
Plus, it's going nowhere in the long run. You're going to run yourself into the ground.
But looking at what other people are doing can be a great way to just feel less alone and to take inspiration from other people. Be like, oh, they did it.
Yeah. Hopefully, you're already doing that, right? Yeah. Hopefully, you're already part of a music scene. And you've got friends that are also doing music, or you're kind of looking around at other artists, and maybe, I don't know, they've got roughly about as many sort of followers or a sizable, similar size audience, and they just released a song half a year ago, and they kind of did it this way. I can see it all laid out there on social media. Sweet.
Yeah. But I think there's like, if we're following this timeline, say, the 6 weeks is like you're reaching out to media, radio, blah, blah, blah. There's a period of time where that kind of slows. You've reached out to all this media. You're sort of waiting on responses. You're keeping up that communication. Make sure you're being active on your emails, checking to see if people have responded to you and giving them what they need if they're asking for things.
For sure.
And that's sort of when you can hone in on you've got your social media plans. You've already been rolling out some posts. Yeah. But there's almost like at least what I found with our most recent release is like there's a 2-week pre-release period that's actually the quietest period of release.
Because
you're itching,
you've done all the hard yards.
Impending,
you're just like
excitement.
Posting on social media, keeping up that engagement, planning things behind the scenes.
You've probably already made the content
until
you just need to post it, like
actually release it. I think
everything's locked in.
I feel like,
but that's good. If you can have a lull, if you can be like, okay, cool, we're all locked in. I've done all the hard work. I've got my plan. I'm good to go. And then you find yourself in a little lull. That's like good.
That's good
because you've done your work.
It's amazing.
You've done all the money.
And you can
before.
do any of the like pitching to playlists and stuff like that. 2 weeks is a good point to do that.
So now the song comes out.
Yeah, the song comes out.
Right? You've had your 2 week to sort of push the pre-save and you've had your sort of 8 week 2 month rollout.
Yeah.
And the song comes out. Celebrate. It's amazing. It's a good time.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk about on that note. We've talked about a lot of things. There's a big old to-do list, and
huge.
You got to be pretty organized during this stage, or at least try to be.
Yeah.
We're not always perfect, and you won't get everything done.
No way.
But
the thing is, there's always more to do.
But take that time to write a to-do list, to write those calendars, write a social media calendar, make a radio spreadsheet and a media spreadsheet. Get your ducks in a row. I feel like that's the saying of this episode. But in doing all that, we are human beings, and this shit's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
For sure.
How have you navigated doing all this, like doing all this logistical stuff and admin stuff, because it's tough when it's just you, and looking after yourself and actually still enjoying the process, like enjoying your music and, finding the love in it?
Oh, that's such a great question. I actually read this quote yesterday that like resonates so much with me at the moment, and I will now butcher that quote. But it was essentially, but you'll get like the spirit of it. It was essentially talking about when you have like an unexpected little pocket of joy or wave of joy, like don't question it, don't resist it, like lean into it. So that's something that I've been finding helpful with my music making process at the moment. Like, for example, like being in the studio and doing a long day and having the ups and downs of like, this song is amazing. Oh, I'm not sure. Are people going to love this? Like the highs and lows. But then when those little pockets of joy come along, just like leaning right in. And then, same with the photo shoot. You've done all of the logistics. You've done all of the organizing. And then when you're in that moment of like, oh, everything's flowing, just like leaning right into that. But it's definitely something that I do find difficult, actually. I was thinking about this, is like to enjoy and celebrate, or this is what I'm trying to do, to enjoy and celebrate like the whole journey and the whole growth thing, because I'm always like, oh, I can do better, I can push further, I can work harder, I can, but just trying to like sink into whatever little era of your career you're in as well. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
realize where you're at, rather than always looking like, okay, it's been done, but what about the next 5 releases?
And it's for me as well. It's,
how do I get there?
It's the future, and it's the comparison as well.
Yeah.
Like the comparison kills me. And I do my best to like, because it's tricky, because you get inspiration from other artists who are like inspiring and doing great things. But something my mentor talked to me about was celebrate, like having the lens of celebrating other people's success rather than like comparing yourself. Like easier said than done.
So much easier
but
said than done.
And a similar artist gets booked for a festival that you were hoping to. It's like, do you know what? Maybe this isn't my year for that festival, but maybe it'll be next year. Like, great. Love it for her. Celebrate her.
It's hard to do, but if you can be conscious of that mindset, it really helps. I feel like I've been doing a similar thing, and I'm not always good at it. But when I am, it feels good to be able to turn it around. To be able to, even if you don't completely turn it around, even if you just turn it slightly, and you're still like,
a tilt.
Oh, I still kind of wish it was me, but I can also be happy for them.
Yeah.
It makes you feel better, I think.
It definitely
you don't live
helps.
in this resentful little ball.
Yeah. And no one wants to live in a resentful ball. And like even yesterday I had this moment of being like, I wrote a song that I love and I'm really proud of, and I'm like, yeah, but it's not like Julia Michaels. And then I was like, do you know what? Actually, no. My writing has grown. I'm proud of this song. I love it. I'm leaning into like my own growth, even though, you know, it's here for me, but like I've come a long way. So
definitely
just trying to celebrate the little things.
And along those lines for me, something that I've really learned throughout doing a full release, because actually this debut single for Marmalade is the full release plan that I've like followed through for my own music.
Amazing.
Is like really leaning into doing as much as you can, but not beating yourself up over the stuff that you couldn't do.
For sure.
I think there's two things that come into mind, like in order to look after your mental well-being whilst you do a release. The first is being as organized as possible, because that will create a less stressful environment. So be as organized as you possibly can. Plan as much as you possibly can in advance. Stick to that as much as you possibly can, because that will help you in the long run. But at the same time, if you just miss something, or you don't email as many people as you wanted to, or you accidentally pitch for that playlist a couple weeks late, just forgive yourself.
Just offer it up to something.
It is what it is. It's
to someone, honestly.
Yeah, it's a learning curve.
It is.
If you realise that that's something you didn't do and you forgot, write it down. Remember it for the next release. Yeah. Just don't beat yourself up about it. Be proud of what you have done, because you've probably done
You've
much.
You've
probably done more than, especially if you're doing everything we've talked about. You've done more than enough stuff. Just don't do this whole release plan. Put like 2 months of like really hard work into doing something, and then finish it and be like, oh, it wasn't good enough.
No. Yeah, exactly. I would actually just an idea for your release day. I reckon plan a little special something on your release day. Like one of the things that I did when I released a music video is that the evening when the video came out, I just had some friends over, and we had a couple of wines, and we all watched the music video.
It's great, a little watching party.
And it was really, really special because like I've had a few release days now in my time, and I've had a few release days where I like sit in bed, drink coffee, and stare at the screen and
look at the numbers, right?
And look at the numbers.
How many people are listening?
Okay. And look at the reviews, which again, it's okay. And Google myself and be like, oh, this is coming up, and oh, this is coming up, and oh, I didn't get this playlist, but I got this playlist, and blah. And you know, that's kind of, for me, that's like the default. That's my release day default. But like for my next release day, I'm gonna give myself, let's say, like 2 hours in bed, 2 coffees, and like, you know, stare at the screen for a bit, and then I'm going to go for a run, and then I'm going to go see some friends and celebrate what it is, regardless of what playlist I land or I don't land.
Exactly.
And,
you've still done an awesome thing.
It's out of your control as well. You know what I mean? Exactly. And it's so easy. I found myself doing the same thing, like just really getting
so easy to do.
Going down the whirlpool of the numbers, right? Because especially if you know, if it just doesn't land on playlists, it just doesn't.
Be proud that you've made this thing and put it out in the world, and that you have done all of the stuff yourself.
Yeah, amazing
That's something
work,
to be so proud of. And I really think celebrating things is so important. Make a cake.
Make a cake. Absolutely. Put a candle on it. Seriously, get your friends over. Turn your phone off and like let them celebrate you, because they will really want to do that.
And the numbers and stuff, they will come. They'll be there tomorrow. Yeah. And you can look at them tomorrow, and you can look at them in the future if you want to.
Reply to all your DMs.
Yeah, exactly. I sometimes get this mindset, I need to share that immediately. No, you don't. No one cares if you share it at 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. Just chill out a bit.
Instagram police isn't going to hit you up. And also the release date is like the start of your song and its little life in the world and on the internet and on people's playlists and radios. But it's the end point of your like prep and your all of the work. Does that make sense? Like you're finishing that race of like everything that you could have done for your song to like have its first day in the world and then go on.
And there's obviously a bunch of post-release stuff, which we kind of already talked about. You know, it is really important to like take a moment to celebrate, but also to not completely fall off the face of the earth after you release a song. Your social media plan should continue afterwards. You know, even though your radio and media,
because now slowly the reviews are coming out that you've pitched to. You're being featured maybe in magazines that you've pitched to, media's, maybe radio's playing it. They'll probably tag you, and if they don't, you can share it anyway.
You can.
You can. And that's such easy content to share to social media because people are going to just really, like you say, celebrate you because they're rooting for you. They like your song.
That is important to not forget about.
And then of course pitching. So there's many. I mean, we can just kind of brush over pitching to playlists because actually one thing we haven't mentioned is pitching to Spotify also needs to happen 6 weeks before. I just remembered that we completely forgot to mention that.
We did.
So this whole six weeks before time period is kind of where everything lines up, and hopefully you've planned for it. But you're also pitching to Spotify at this point, which is pretty easy to do through the Spotify for Artists.
They actually make it really easy.
It's really easy.
They really do. Yeah.
Just take a little bit of time,
I'd
20 to 30 minutes to just click the right things and then write. Like that little box that you need to write in, whatever it is, like 300 words or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Just make it really sort of to the point, concise.
Mention
what your song
your
is.
achievements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would say that like the most important thing is just noting that you should do that because actually the process is really straightforward. They just have a bunch of boxes that you
it's
fill
set
out.
out
It's
really well on Spotify.
But what I mean afterwards is pitching to
other playlists,
third-party playlists for Spotify. Yeah, which is, again, that's something we can brush over. It's quite easy.
You basically just find a playlist, look them up online. They probably have like a very simple portal, which is like, tell me about your song, give me the link.
Yeah.
And probably give them a Spotify link because it's probably a Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much that. I mean, you can get
a song is in the world.
You can do a release show that always helps. I mean, that speaks for itself. Just a big party for that song. It's just an event, but it's extra special, so people will support you even more there. So that's a very fun way to celebrate. But
hopefully that covers all the nitty gritty. If you are listening or watching and you feel like, oh my gosh, I have this burning question that didn't get answered, just leave us a comment, flick us a message, and we'll try and do our best to answer those and get back to you all. But hopefully you go away and feel like, shit, cool, I'm going to start. Like 2 months
I have
out.
a big 6.5 weeks. I got some stuff to do.
We should. You have some stuff to do, but you've got your cake and your friends and your wine.
Yeah, at the end.
On release day.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
You might want to rewind this episode and grab a pen and paper and start noting down some things.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming and having a corridor.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Thank you
Amazing.
for having me.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks.